The auction block stank of desperation and chemical disinfectant. Marcus Chun stood among the crowd of traders and merchants, his face carefully neutral as he watched the procession of slaves being displayed. He was not here by choice. His ship had taken damage in the asteroid belt, and this backwater station was the only port within range. He needed parts. He needed supplies. He did not need to witness this. The child appeared on the platform like a ghost given form. She was small, perhaps 7 or 8 by human standards, though Marcus knew different species aged differently. Her skin held a faint luminescence, pale blue that flickered like dying starlight. 4 arms hung limp at her sides, shackled together with bands that hummed with suppression fields. Her eyes were too large, too dark, and when they swept across the crowd, they held no hope whatsoever. The auctioneer, a bulbous creature with too many teeth, began his pitch. The child was docile, obedient, perfect for domestic labor or scientific study. Her species was rare, nearly extinct. A collector's prize. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had seen many horrors in his 15 years, traveling the outer systems. He had learned to look away, to remind himself that he was one man with one ship, and the galaxy was vast and cruel. But this child, this small flickering light in the darkness, looked directly at him, and he saw his sister's eyes. His sister who had been taken by raiders when he was too young to stop them. His sister who he never found. The bidding started. Marcus raised his hand. 20 minutes later, he walked through the station corridors, with the child following 3 steps behind. The auctioneer had provided a control chip, a small device that would deliver pain if she strayed or disobeyed. Marcus had smiled, paid extra for the premium model, and the moment they were out of sight, he crushed it under his boot. The child stopped walking. She stared at the sparking fragments on the floor, then up at him with those vast dark eyes. "You're free," Marcus said quietly. "I'm taking you home." "Where is home?" She did not speak. Perhaps she could not. He had purchased her file, along with her freedom, such as it was, and the medical data showed extensive trauma to her vocal structures. Deliberate, the report noted. Easier to manage. Marcus felt rage settle into his bones like cold iron. They made it to his ship without incident. The station security did not care what happened to property once it was purchased. The Wanderer was not much to look at. A century-old cargo hauler held together with spite and improvisation, but she flew true, and her engines were sound. Marcus sealed the airlock behind them and finally allowed himself to breathe. The child stood in the cargo bay, small and still, as if waiting for orders. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. Silence. "Can you understand me?" A slow nod. He pulled up a holographic display, cycling through star charts and known systems. "Point to your home. Point to where I should take you." Her small hand, 3-fingered and delicate, reached out and touched a region deep in the outer reaches. A cluster of systems that humans called the Pale Stars. Territory held by the Dominion, a coalition that had closed its borders to outside traffic decades ago. Marcus felt his stomach drop. "That's going to be complicated," he said. She looked at him with those eyes that held galaxies of grief. "But we'll figure it out," he added quickly. "I promise." The first week was learning. The child, whom Marcus started calling Lyra after a constellation from Earth's southern hemisphere, was severely malnourished. He coaxed her to eat, started her on supplements, watched as some of the glow returned to her skin. She slept in the crew quarters, curled into a ball, so tight it hurt to look at. She never made a sound. The second week brought their first real danger. A patrol ship hailed them as they crossed into neutral space. Standard inspection, they said, but Marcus knew a shakedown when he heard one. He told Lyra to hide in the smuggling compartment he had installed years ago for cargo he did not want examined. She fit easily in the small space that the inspectors were collective enforcers, brutal and corrupt in equal measure. They tore through his ship looking for contraband, for anything they could confiscate or fine. They found nothing. When they finally left, Marcus opened the compartment and Lyra crawled out, shaking but silent. He held her while she trembled, this small broken thing that trusted him with her life. They crossed 3 sectors over the next month. Marcus traded, scrounged, and occasionally stole what they needed to keep moving. He taught Lyra basic ship operations, showed her how to read the navigation charts, and monitor the engines. She learned with frightening speed, her small hands dancing over controls with growing confidence. Sometimes she would look at him, and he swore he could see a question forming, but she never managed to voice it. The Dominion border was a wall of sensor nets and automated defense platforms. Marcus spent 2 weeks trading favors and calling in debts until he found a smuggler who knew a gap in the coverage. The price was steep, nearly everything Marcus had saved, but he paid it without hesitation. They slipped through during a solar storm, the Wanderer's hull groaning under the electromagnetic stress. Lyra sat in the co-pilot's seat, her hands gripping the armrests, her luminescence flickering in time with the lightning that danced across the view screen. Marcus flew by instinct and desperation, and somehow they made it through. The pale stars were beautiful, vast nebulae of silver and blue that filled the darkness with ghostly light. Marcus followed the coordinates Lyra had given him, dropping out of faster-than-light travel near a small green world that hung like an emerald in the void. Ships appeared around them immediately, sleek vessels that moved with predatory grace. His communications panel lit up with demands in a language he did not recognize, but the tone was universal. "Identify yourself or be destroyed." Lyra climbed out of her seat and placed her hand on his shoulder. She made a sound, the first he had heard from her, a melodic whistle that rose and fell like bird song. Marcus opened the channel and held the microphone toward her. She sang into it, her voice broken and rough, but unmistakably beautiful. The words were incomprehensible to him, but they must have meant something because the weapons locks that had been painting his ship suddenly went dark. One of the ships approached and docked. Marcus stood by the airlock with Lyra at his side, his hand resting protectively on her shoulder. When the door opened, a tall being stepped through. 4 arms, luminescent skin that glowed bright and steady, eyes like dark pools. Lyra's species, clearly an adult dot, the being looked at Lyra and made a sound that Marcus recognized as grief and joy mixed together. Lyra's glow intensified, pulsing bright as a star. She looked up at Marcus once, and in that look was everything she could not say. "Thank you. Goodbye. I will remember you." Then she ran forward, and the adult caught her, gathering her up in all 4 arms, holding her as if she might vanish. Other beings came through, surrounding them, touching Lyra gently, making sounds of welcome and sorrow. Marcus stood alone by the airlock, suddenly aware of how empty the ship would be without her. One of the beings approached him. This one wore what appeared to be military insignia. They regarded him for a long moment, and made a gesture he thought might be a salute. They spoke in heavily accented but comprehensible standard. "You brought one of our children home. The Dominion owes you a debt." "I don't want anything," Marcus said. His voice sounded rough. "Just make sure she's okay. Make sure she's safe." The being's expression was unreadable, but they inclined their head. "She will want for nothing. This we swear." They gave him supplies, fuel, coordinates for safe passage back through the border. Marcus accepted them numbly and returned to his ship. As the airlock sealed and the Dominion vessels pulled away, he looked back one last time. Through the viewport of the departing ship, he could see Lyra, surrounded by her people, glowing bright and steady. She raised one small hand in farewell. Marcus raised his in return. The Wanderer turned and began the long journey home. And for the first time in 15 years, Marcus allowed himself to believe that maybe Just maybe, some things lost could be found again. Some wounds could heal. Some lights could be rekindled. He had not saved his sister, but he had saved this child, and in her freedom he found something he thought he had lost long ago, hope.